let go. Hey guys, happy Friday. You know what, Jennifer? I don't know about you, but I always do this on my Meet My Friend Friday. I love naming my Fridays. And today feels like a high five Friday to me.
Yeah.
So high five to you.
High five.
I love it, love it, love it. Jennifer and I were just chatting just before, and we really were like having a good time and talking about all the things. But anyway, guys, hey, welcome back to Meet My Friend Friday. I am so over the top excited about my guest today. You know, one of my true passions is helping you take your life to the next level. And guys, that looks totally different for so many people. And so what I like to do is bring you as much information as I possibly can. And my guest that I have today is absolutely phenomenal. Jennifer and I have actually known each other for a number of years. Gosh, it's been a long time. Connected through social media, have like supported each other's stuff, just cheered each other on, done all of the things. And it's been great. And then in January, my husband and I were traveling and we were in her area, and I got to meet this lady and give her a hug personally. And I mean, we just really connected and we got to sit down and we got to talk a lot. And the things that she was talking about really resonated with me. And so I am so very grateful to have Jennifer Loading joining me today. For those of you who don't know me or are new to my profile, I am Jazzy Will. I'm a certified mental health and wellness coach. I'm also a food first specialist. You hear me talk about all of those things. But Jennifer is going to bring some new stuff, some new thoughts, some new perspectives into our live today. Like I said, this lady is absolutely amazing. She is a mom. She's an entrepreneur. She's a coach. She's a blogger. She's a speaker. She's an author. And she is a podcaster of a podcast called The Starter Girls. I absolutely love your podcast. And Jennifer, you guys just celebrated 20,000 followers.
We did. Yes.
Oh my gosh. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn it over to you. I'm going to let you tell my audience, my listeners, a little bit more about you, and we'll just kind of kick it off from there.
Absolutely. And I'm like, where do we start with this story, right? Oh my gosh. I always have to how do I do an abbreviated version of this? I was thinking about this before I came on here. I'm like, what am I going to impart on these people? Because I feel like I'm in my early 50s now, and I feel like there's something powerful that has happened in my life. And it really started in 2012. And I'll back that up even further. And just so your audience knows, I spent 22 years in the network marketing space in Mary Kay and thought I was never going to leave this company. And then I ended up getting diagnosed with this really crazy rare nerve condition in 2012. And that was like the catalyst for me. I didn't know it at the time because I thought it was something awful. It is awful, but I thought it was going to be my forever doom. It was going to put me in my grave kind of thing. But it became the catalyst for all of the work that I do now. And so, I've thought about this and like the other day, I was trying to tell somebody, like, what is it that I do? Like, how do I help people? Right. And I really figured out that a lot of the work that I do is really about helping people break through these inner blocks, these demons, these things that plague our lives. Because here's what happened. When I came down with that disease, I had no idea at that time that disease, I thought it was merely something that happened to me when I went into the dentist. I walked out, I came out, I had this weird nerve condition in my face, spent 4 years, in and out of the doctor's hospital, traumatized with this thing. But that particular incident put me into this search where I started connecting dots and realizing that a lot of the things, the pains, whether it's a physical ailment, a relational ailment, a financial ailment, these things were really connected. And a lot of it was connected by the belief systems that we have, the patterns of behavior, all of these things that were going on. And so when I talk about all the things I do, I have all these modalities that I'm trained in. And a lot of them I do because I've had to solve problems in my own world, but also because I like learning. And I like being able to say to somebody, hey, maybe this doesn't work for you. You could try this. This might be the thing you need to do. And because I think we're complex, I don't think, one thing fixes us. I think there are a lot of pieces to this puzzle, whether it's diet and exercise, our sleep, our circle of influence, the things we're consuming every day in our brain, all of that comes into play. And so a lot of my work is really grounded in how do I help people make these transformational changes, but make sure they stick, because we want sustainability. And to do that, we got to clear up a lot of the junk that's hiding underneath that iceberg.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. I was just on a call this morning and it really like dove deep into doing that right there. And I think that's a big step that so many people jump over, miss
Yes.
out on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, and to your point on that, when this all started for me, I wrote about this in my book, and I actually just went back the other day and I was like, where's that page where I talk about this? Because I was like, this is like a memorable moment. I was going to this holistic practitioner back in probably like 2015, somewhere around there. This was kind of a time when I didn't really even know anything about holistic medicine up to this point. And like now I feel like I'm versed in everything. Like I feel like I just know so much stuff and it's great. I'm like, I wish I knew it sooner, you know? But I went in there and I remember this practitioner saying something to me along the lines of, what were you doing at the time or the onset of this incident? And I'm like, I just got mad. Like I was just angry because I'm like, I went into the dentist to get a filling done, actually an old silver filling taken out. And now we know stuff about silver too. Like we know stuff about that too, right? Didn't know that then. But I went in to have that done. And then I come out 5 months later, I'm diagnosed with this rare thing that nobody really knows about, right? And apparently dentists know, but don't talk about it. And so it really just, it changed my whole perspective about everything with health and the things that we do. And I think that just really, I don't know where we were going. I lost my train of thought, Jazzy, but
no, keep going. Yeah.
I think it really just changed my whole perspective about how we contribute to the outcome of our lives, how we live day in and day out. It's not just one single thing or incident that causes this. It's a culmination of things that come into our lives. And it's beliefs too, how we feel about ourselves and people and life in general. Because you know, I use this example when I used to run all the time. I still exercise. I don't run like I used to. That's probably when you came in, when I was doing a lot of my running. And I would tell people this. We would go out, my husband and I would run multiple races on a weekend. So it may look like on a Saturday, he might be running a 50K. I might have been doing a half marathon. And then we would turn around the very next day and go run a 5K. I know, crazy, right? Not doing that now. But here's the thing. We would get up and do those hard races on Saturday and our mindsets were, I mean, on it, game on, right? The very next day, we had the skill set, we had everything, but our brains were not prepared to want to do that 5K. And that stupid thing would be so hard to push through because we mentally were not wanting to be there, you know? Yeah. So I talk about nervous system stuff, and we really can't outthink our bodies, right? Because they're playing the role in everything. And so you can do all these affirmations all day long, but you got to get all these systems right and all these habits and patterns, work to get them in check, and you're going to be so much better off. Yeah. The long-winded tangent, but man.
Oh my gosh, no, I love it. I love it. You know, because so I was just even talking about this last week with somebody. I said, I'm not an affirmations girl. I'm not the kind of person that can stand in front of the mirror and go, I am strong, I am healthy, I am worthy, and have it affect my system. So right. I know exactly what you're saying. And I think so many times people are looking for just that one thing that's going to fix everything.
Yeah.
And it doesn't work that way.
No. And I want to say, don't throw away affirmations, because I will tell you, right. When I started this journey in the very, very beginning, you guys have, I feel like people sort of seen me on the other side, the new Jennifer, the other Jennifer, right? But there was a Jennifer on the other side that was cynical and beaten down and big time scarcity mindset, negative. I had to work at that. I didn't grow up like that. I had to work that way. And there was a time when I did two things. I did affirmations and gratitude journal. I talk about them in my book, and I'm not kidding you. I would get up every morning and I'd open my spiral notebook, and where I'd put that to-do list, I'd write at the top of that paper, today something amazing is going to happen. And I did that every single day. And I did a gratitude journal every day. And there were times on that gratitude journal, it was like, I am grateful today for forks so I can eat.
There you go.
Because that's where I was. But the point is that was a beginning stage for me, yes. Right? Like it was a beginning, and I continued to work on other things. So the effects of that started taking hold because I was working on the belief systems, and I was working on all the patterns and all the other things that I was implementing in my habits. So you're right. It's not the one thing, and it's not going to be the magical fix. The magical fix it's a process. It's just, you keep working on it.
Yeah, yeah. You just have to keep going. I mean, and it's that continual, over and over and over, because I know like a lot of my clients are like, this isn't working. No,
Yeah.
keep going at it, because when you do, you've got to go until you see that result. You've got to keep working at it until you feel that change or that shift.
Yeah.
Or for me, it was always, I got to keep doing this until it becomes so embedded in me that I don't have to think about doing it anymore.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
mean, it's, yeah.
Yeah, I want to
Great.
talk about that too. It's like the
Yeah.
unconscious competent thing, right? Like brushing your teeth or driving the car. You've done that for so long, you don't think about it. That's how I feel about working out. Like I just work out pretty much every day. There was a time when, probably like what you're talking about, where I felt like I needed to grind really hard. I have since learned that you can't exercise yourself out of a bad diet. So I am more concerned about eating the way I would like to eat and being okay with my food choices. And then I don't feel like I have to sweat and grind myself to the core to work all that off. So now I work out every day as part of movement. I just want to keep myself moving. And today I decided I'm going to run a mile today. And I did. And I was excited because I got back out there and ran a mile today. And I hadn't done that in a while. So I was excited about it, but it's really more of that, what you're talking about, that unconscious competent thing, where it's just really now part of my life. I don't really negotiate that. And if I decide not to, I'm okay with it. I don't feel guilty about it because I've made that choice to say I'm taking a break today,
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So tell us a little bit more about your book.
Yes. Okay. So the book I wrote, that it is funny. I probably need to do an update because I was going through it and I'm like, oh my gosh, so much has changed. But I wrote that in around 2018-ish, latter part. I released it in 2019. And it's weird because I wrote it in the aftermath of that nerve condition and the first chapter is all about how it basically, I feel like it wrecked my life. But the next chapters are all about everything I learned in the aftermath. So it's actually really a positive book. But what's so weird about it is that when I wrote it, I used it sort of as a cathartic release. I just really wanted to document what I had gone through. And I remember getting to the end of it and tearing up over it because I was like, this was so hard. And now I look at it, it's like, it's like almost like after you give birth, like you forget the kind of how bad that experience was, right? I go back and I look at it and I'm like, wow, that sucked. You got through that. And like, that was hard, but you did that. And look how, like, what everything that's happened in the aftermath of that. And so, and I ended up getting diagnosed. Weirdly enough, I got diagnosed with another weird, rare disease in 2022. I somehow think there's some way nerve related, something's connected somewhere.
Yeah.
But my point to that is I had no idea that first one was going to be basically the setup for everything that has happened in the aftermath, all the good, the crazy, the bad, but ultimately the ability to do what I get to do now.
Yeah. And that is so powerful. And I think, so many times, I mean, I remember you going through all of that stuff and, everything that you were dealing with at the time. And I remember watching and following your journey. And I mean, I was just like blown away when we got to sit down and talk in January by the fact that how you've come full circle. And I think so many times we have to remember, that we are going through these. I mean, I don't want to sound cliche, but we do go through these things for reasons.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason is because it's going to make us stronger if we keep our heads down and keep going.
Yeah.
And get through it to the other side, right?
Yeah.
Then we've got a story. Then we've got a book. Then we've got a podcast. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And that has the ability to transform so many lives.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing. It's funny because I don't always share the things when I'm right in the midst, all of the things I did with my health journey, because it was such a hard thing to go through. And I don't know if I wasn't really looking for anybody to ever feel sorry for me. I've never been a victim player. It's more, that I think what I was doing was really just giving myself grace, right? Like allowing myself a little bit of grace, not to be such a high achiever, and say, it's okay, Jennifer, you need to take this time. And I'll tell you, in the midst of that, I really learned so many things. Like I said, even since that book, I learned about giving myself grace. I learned that it's okay to back off. I learned that it's okay to be okay in the moment, right? It's okay not to be perfect. And it's okay to like yourself where you are. You don't need to always be proving yourself to other people. I think that's been some of the most freeing lessons that I've learned in all of this,
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. And it is. I mean, it's so true. So tell us about your podcast.
Yeah, that is my favorite passion project ever. So I started that back in 2019, right around the time that I launched the book. And it's funny, if you read the book, you'll hear no mention of the podcast, but I actually launched it 2 weeks after the book because that's how quickly we did this. I'm not kidding you. When I talk about just, like I'm an idea person. When I talk about I had an idea and I go into action mode, we birthed this in a parking lot after a networking event in Dallas. Like my friend
Oh
and
my God.
we're in the parking lot. This is right before COVID. We're like frustrated. We're trying to figure out what, this is at the time when podcast was not really, it was out there, but it wasn't huge. And I'm like, you know what? We should start a podcast. And my friend's like, okay. Neither one of us knew what we were doing. Like nothing. We walked into this like co-op sharing space with like those foam things on the wall. And we're like, she's on a computer. I'm on a computer. We're live on Facebook. We had not a clue what we were doing. And just, for anybody listening to this, those old episodes are out there. Go check them out. Go check them out. But we learned a lot. And that whole show, when we brought it into place, was all about empowering women. That's really what it was. Funny thing is I brought men on the show and because I always feel like they have, stuff that they can offer us too. But when I brought that podcast back and I paused it for a little while to launch another show. That original girl, we parted ways. We're still good friends, but we parted business ways. And I brought in a new partner at the time and we launched another show. And so I paused Starter Girls for a while. But what I kept seeing was that consistently the downloads were still going in there. And I wasn't marketing. I wasn't doing anything. Like it just sat there for like 18 months. And so I finally, in 23, I decided to bring it back with a little bit of a different purpose because more stuff had evolved. And so I decided that it wasn't just about empowering women. It was about educating women on how to be healthy in all the domains of their lives. So the 4 domains: health and wellness, relationships, money, and career. And so everybody that I bring on there now typically fits within one of those domains. And it may be that we're talking about their career journey, what they've done in that area. Or the other day I had a guy come on and he is a relationship coach for women from 40 to 60, helps them navigate the dating landscape. And so that was all about relationship. But believe it or not, we started talking about emotional maturity, like how to be emotionally intelligent, which is a big area I talk about. So I get all these people to really just fit in these different areas and they're relaying my message is what they're doing. They're just another voice lending into the work that I'm trying to put out there.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. So you had mentioned something about, did you launch a program then recently?
I did. What? Yes. I think when I met you, I was right at the very tail end of it. Yes, I did. I launched it. It's up. It's live. The quiz is on my page now. And so, yes, that has been fun.
So where can people find that?
Yes, if they go to startergirls.com, just go to startergirlswithaz.com. There's only 3 little icons on there. You'll see Success Block Quiz. And when they click on that, that actually takes them to the quiz that I crafted out. And what that does is it helps them find their number one success block, basically, whatever is that's playing in their business right now. Chances are it's playing in more than their business. It's probably showing up in their personal lives, their relationships, their money. But this is tailored to business. And then what that does is from there, that'll give them the option to look into this course. And the course is really, it's a micro niche. It leads to, some bigger things, but it's all about helping mostly female entrepreneurs learn to navigate, increasing their profits, but also reclaiming their time, because these are the 2 things we want as women entrepreneurs: more time to do what we want and more money. Right.
Yep.
And so that's what it's about. But it's really about addressing those blocks, the patterns I was mentioning in the beginning, how they're playing out in this landscape.
Yeah. And that is
deeper.
So powerful. I mean, that is so powerful. And I know that was one of the reasons that I wanted to do this interview, was because when we sat down and talked, and that was what you were sharing. And I'm like, guys, I even know as an entrepreneur, I've been in this space now for about 11 years, stepped into it completely blind. I still feel like I'm completely blind, but I also feel like I've got a lot of blockers that I need to yet work beyond. you know? And so, and I know that if I'm experiencing that, that there's a lot of other women out there that are. So guys, this is so good. So where all can people find you besides Starter Girls? Where all are you
I'm
actually
all
at? People can follow you.
Yeah, I'm not hard to find. If you pull my name up, you'll probably find me because I have enough podcast episodes out there now that people are starting to like get the stuff. I got so many pages, but Jennifer Loading is the hub, and I'm sure you'll get the name. It's on there, but I'm sure you'll get all that in there. But if they just go to like jenniferloading.com, everything is connected through there, and that takes them to the Starter Girls, the book, all my work in there. And I wanted to say something to you about the blogs because we had talked about this. When I had crafted out that program, interestingly enough, most of my work has been centered around the network marketing space because that is where I spent the majority of my career, was in that area. So I know kind of the ins and outs of that. But not only that, the pain points that women go through in that space, because I started in Mary Kay when I had one child. She was 2 years old. And those kids, like I was in that 22 years. So I birthed 2 more kids in the middle and that. So I worked it as a very young mom in my late 20s, early 30s, all the way till I pulled out in December of 22. And really the only reason I had left at that time is just because I had another purpose. I needed to take what I had learned and put that into somewhere else. And so when I crafted all that, it's crazy because even in my big program, my high ticket, I talk a lot about what I had learned in Mary Kay in the network marketing space. And so you can't get away from it. Like no matter how hard I try, it's like, that's all I almost know, because it's like, that's where I was for so long. So a lot of my work, that's why it's really centered around women and the things that we're going through. And those blocks you're talking about, we all have them. I realized in the middle of building that program, perfectionism is like a major one for me because it took me so long to get that thing out of edit mode. True story. I'm not.
It was never perfect, right?
I totally am not afraid to admit it. It was awful. I'm like, Jennifer, you cannot do any more edits. I had a speaking gig come up that forced me to get that done. And I was so glad that I had that coming up because I had to go talk about it. So I had to have it finished to talk about it.
Gosh. That's funny. That's good to know. Good to know, I mean, none of us are perfect, but man, we, I think as women, especially women, I'm sure there's a few men out there too, but especially as women, we strive to be, and I know that's one thing that I've had to work beyond too, especially when it comes to social media. It's just like, this is what I'm in this for. I'm in this to help people. And if I'm not willing to put myself out there and put it out there with all of the imperfections, it's not going to work.
You're great about that, Jazzy. You're great about that, by the way. I just want you to know, because that is a hard thing to do. Yeah. It is hard. I do podcasts all the time and I have no problem filming a podcast, but that whole live video, like this being live, is different for me. It's a different feel because I really don't do edits on my podcast. So it's not even a matter of doing edits. It's just when I have the recording, I have control, right? Like I have a little bit of, and because I'm a perfectionist. Yeah. And if they're,
And it's hard. It's hard to move beyond that. It really, truly is. So any final words of wisdom, anything else you would like to share, my dear? Oh my gosh, this has been so amazing.
Yeah, well, you're awesome, first of all. And I want to tell you, thank you for allowing me to come on here. But I think, I would say this, if you're trying to make change that really, really sticks, I'll say 2 things. One, know that it's not going to be a one thing quick fix. It's a process. But also, I think we need to understand that we really need to go back deeper and peel the layers so that we can understand the root cause of the behaviors that we're doing. And when we start to, the biggest thing is recognition. Once you start to get aware of that, you've made a step already. Like because most people never do that. They just say that this is the way I live. This is how I am. I have this and that's what I do. And no, it's not. We're making choices, whether we may not be thinking about them, but we're making choices every day. So once we can go back and peel those layers and gather awareness, then we can begin to work on tools and techniques to actually reduce some of the emotion that's tied to that and replace it with a new framework of, habits and patterns that are going to actually support us long term. So we'll get more sustainability.
Yeah, love that. Absolutely love that. Hey, my friends, followers, family, thank you so much for joining us. You know what? If you're actually catching this live, drop live in the comment box. And if you're catching the replay, drop replay. If you have not connected with this lady yet, please take the time to do so. Go check out the Starter Girls. Absolutely phenomenal podcast. Jennifer Loding, you are amazing. Thank you so much for joining me today. I have absolutely loved every minute of this.
Me too. It's been fun. Thank you.
You're
Appreciate
welcome.
you.
Oh, you too. Hey guys, go out there and take on the rest of your day with grace and gratitude, and we will catch you guys all later. Bye.